A very good morning to one and all. On behalf of Institute Innovation Cell at Government Engineering College, Nagpur, I, Dr. Jasmeer Randhawa, welcome the chief guest, Dr. Mrs. Megha Kumtekar, speaker, Ms. Mayuri Kare, and all the participants for the webinar on design thinking for aspiring entrepreneurs. We also welcome Honorable Dr. M.B. Kumtekar, Principal Government College of Engineering, Nagpur, and Dr. Mrs. Kshitija Kadam, the President of Institute Innovation Cell. All we have recently observed that when an appeal was made to all Indian citizens that we should stop using foreign goods, and what we have observed that the indigenously developed softwares have come into the market, and we all have started using those softwares. But same is not the scenario for electronic goods and the other products. It doesn't mean that the professionals in India are lacking ideas or we don't have innovation skill. But what is understood that the professionals in India are lacking the training which will make an individual or which will empower an individual to convert his or her ideas into a commercially viable product. So this particular webinar is just a small step to have that training. And today we are going to learn the jargon design thinking. GCOE Nagpur has evolved as a vibrant institution of engineering education in a short span of 4 years, only because of the dynamic leadership of Principal Dr. M.B. Kumtekar sir. I invite him to address the participants. Over to you.
Good morning, Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Mrs. Megha Kumtekar. Today's resource person, Mrs. Mayuri Kare, the President of the Institute Innovation Council, Dr. Kshitija Kadam, the faculty in charge for the startups and entrepreneurship, Dr. Mrs. J.B. Randhawa, all the faculty coordinators, and dear delegates. It's my pleasure to address this particular address the delegates for this specific webinar arranged by the Innovation Cell as well as the startup, mainly on the design thinking for the aspiring entrepreneurship, which is the need of an hour, I feel, because in the present scenario, mainly due to this COVID-19, the industries are suffering a great problem. The placement, which is the heart, where all the students get attracted due to the packages, opportunities, and the placement offered, I think this scenario will be declining, and probably maybe in the next year, the problem will be more severe. Due to this globalization, no doubt there is a good scope for the young brains, as Dr. Randhawa said, but the competition will also become very steep in days to come. And hence, the only solution for this particular thing is to go for the startup or to become the entrepreneurs. Now, to become the entrepreneur is also not easy. To go for the startup is also equally difficult because they need a lot of, I think, the study of the customers, the behavior of the customers, go for the right idea, take the appropriate training which is required to go for this particular startup, arrange for the finances. You have to change your personality, go for more, say, risk taking, go for the better, say, industrial development, go for the better team, and ultimately you have to go to the right person so as to sell your idea with maybe individually or with the help of what are called a big organization. In other words, it is need of an hour to develop the proper ecosystem to proper ecosystem to go for these type of the startups or mainly for entrepreneurs. In fact, when I was discussing with Dr. Randhawa or Dr. Kadam, I was told that there are equal chances, there are more chances that if you don't go for this particular ecosystem or proper change, the number of failures are also there. But if you adopt this particular system, which will be now discussed by honorable resource person or also by the chief guest, I'm sure that a lot of startups will come in the days to come or say years to follow. And I'm sure Government College of Nagpur will also one of the good hub which will train the number of entrepreneurs or the startups. And I'm sure this will really occupy a good position at the national level. I again congratulate Dr. Kadam and Dr. Randhawa for taking the lead in this particular say, subject or this particular theme, as I said, which is need of an hour. I again welcome you all for this particular webinar. I'm sure you'll enjoy the speech from the resource person throwing light on the various aspects, mainly the design thinking for aspiring entrepreneurs. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Your words are always inspiring to us. This event is planned and being conducted as an activity of Institute Innovation Cell. So I invite Dr. Kshitija Kadam, the president of the cell, for presenting the objective, constitution, and the activities of IIC. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jasmeer. Chief guest of today's webinar, Dr. Medha Kumtekar. Today's speaker, respected engineer Mayuri Kale, respected principal Dr. Kumtekar, coordinator of the event Dr. Randhawa, and dear participants. A very good morning. The Institute Innovation Council, that is IIC, at Government College of Engineering, Nagpur, has been installed in 2018 under the umbrella of Ministry of Human Resource Development, MHRD, Government of India. The major focus of IIC is to create a vibrant local innovation ecosystem. These words carry a lot of meaning. I repeat, to create a vibrant local innovation ecosystem and to give mechanism for startups and innovation. We have to organize hackathons, idea competitions with industry involvement, and we have to organize interaction with entrepreneurs, investors, professionals to create mental pool for student innovators. With these agenda points, in last 2 years, IIC of Government College of Engineering, Nagpur has come up with very fruitful activities and events. Few of them are that every year at least 4 teams of our institute compete at state level in idea represented India at international level with his innovative idea of vehicle parking. In this COVID pandemic, our students have created COVID automatic sanitizer, virtual labs, online feedback system, and hostel attendance system. In this way, innovators are helping their college and industries too to become Atmanirbhar. You name a technical issue and our student innovators are ready to solve them. In our institute, the constitution of IIC has many members and we have very good energetic student team which is energetic and focused too, led by Abhishek Dantale as student coordinator. In faculty, I myself shoulder the responsibility of president, whereas Dr. Latesh Bhagat is convener and Dr. Randhawa takes care of entrepreneurship and startups. In today's webinar also, I want to happily share that on the backstage, we have a strong student team of Gunjan, Anurag and Ashish who are from first year only. So you can see the involvement of our student in this cell right from first year, and they are taking very active part and they are shouldering big responsibility. So with these words, I want to welcome you all to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I feel proud and privileged in introducing the chief guest, Dr. Mrs. Medha Kumtekar. She is an academic, a freelance writer, and a mentor. She has completed her Masters of Management Studies from Mumbai University in 1988 and MPhil and PhD on the topic Analytical Study of Customer Relation Management in Manufacturing Sector in and around Pune from Bharati Deemed University under the guidance of Pratibha Joshi, then the director of HNIMR Pune. She has a vast experience of teaching at Daulatrao Aher College of Engineering, Karad, and Bharati Vidyapeeth's Institute of Management, Karad. She deals with the subject like project management and entrepreneurship development. Also, she has taught business development and project management to Master of Architecture students at College of Engineering, Kolhapur. I invite Dr. Mrs. Medha Kumtekar to express her views on this occasion. Over to you, ma'am.
Dr. Kshitija Kadam, President Innovation Cell, Dr. Randhawa Madam, Entrepreneurship and Startups Club, and Mayuri Kale, our resource person today, and all the enthusiastic participants. I think the subject chosen for the webinar is very, very relevant because we are experiencing that with the pandemic, COVID, we are looking for a revolutionary change in all kinds of business interactions. Huh? Sure. Am I seeing full?
No, ma'am, you are seen properly. You continue.
Okay. So I think this is a very relevant topic. Entrepreneurs are the backbone of any economy, and we need more entrepreneurs today. The aspiring entrepreneurs is the need of the hour also. We need to turn our technocrats from job takers to job givers. But entrepreneurship has got its own rules and disciplinary code which must be followed for a startup to become successful. As rightly said, we can't start, an entrepreneur cannot start something just because he thinks it is necessary. The first and foremost is he must come up with more and more ideas. When there are 100 ideas, there are 2 or 3 ideas that can be converted into a business opportunity. Simply having an idea is not enough to become an entrepreneur. That idea must be technically feasible and economically viable. We need to find out whether there is a sufficient demand for this kind of product, this kind of idea in the market. If we look at the pandemic now, it has brought up many opportunities like the marketing of masks, which was a need. So a mask of which kind, varieties of masks. There is also a need for the protective shields for the common man. There were personal protective equipment. These are the new ideas that have come up for the startups, for the entrepreneurs to begin with their own ideas. It is necessary for the entrepreneur to think whether this is possible and for the idea to be converted into a business opportunity. Find out what are the inputs required, the manpower required, the machinery required, the money required, and the material required. Is it possible to acquire this material from the right source at an economical, viable level? It is also necessary to find out whether we have the required manpower, whether we have the required skills for production, and so on. Now, the online educational platforms like Baiju, Ekalavya, etc. These are all extra marks. These are all the need of the hour. So now, since we require contactless deliveries, there are online shoppings. There is this online platform for entertainment like Netflix, Amazon. All these have grown up with this pandemic. Similarly, with the change in the lifestyle, there is a need for upcoming ideas. Finding out the right idea is the first step of a successful startup. Then the next is clear the concept. Find out who is the customer for whom this idea has been formulated. Who is the customer we are going to serve? For example, we can offer a cup of tea on a thela by the side of the road. We can offer it in a restaurant. We can offer it in a five-star hotel. And the costing and the pricing differs depending upon where we are serving it. So it depends upon who is the customer, and the customer is the right judge to decide what is the right quality. He is the right judge to decide what is the right price. He is the one to decide where the product must be delivered. So when all these things are done, we have to first of all demarcate who is the target market for whom we are going to create this. The entrepreneurs must also bear in mind while delivering this the financial and the accounting aspect also. Whatever inputs are given in terms of money, we need to understand that the accounting of every single rupee, every single naya paisa that goes in, that must be accounted so that the entrepreneur has a clear idea about where he is spending and what are the returns. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the entrepreneurs, particularly the technocrats, they concentrate only on the technical aspect. But every entrepreneur must understand that he cannot be just a technocrat. He must be a good human relations expert to bind together people into a good team. He must be a good financer to find out from where to procure the funds, how to manage the funds. He must be a good accountant so that he keeps in touch with what is his expenditure and what are his returns. One more word of caution, the money that comes into the drawer of an entrepreneur is not his money entirely. The money that accumulates out of that, the payments have to be made. There have to be profits which have to be reserved to be plowed back into the business for further investment. And then what is left is also the remuneration for his own self, and then comes the net profit. The person, the identity is different. Many times the entrepreneur considers himself to be available to the business free of cost. That is not so. Medha Kumtekar is different from her business. So when I contribute to my business, I also have to ensure that I get sufficient salary or my remuneration for the efforts that I have taken. And then what remains is that of the business. So when a person earns 100 rupees, there are only 20 rupees that go to the business. This aspect is very much to be kept in mind. There have been so many project managers who were not able to manage the accounting properly, and because of which the startups could not settle down quickly. Therefore, the aspiring startups must remember that they have to consider the generation of freewheeling of ideas with the help of brainstorming, then find out whether there's a sufficient demand for this idea, find out whether it is technically feasible, possible, and whether it is economically viable, whether it can generate sufficient income for the idea to continue forward as a business. Find out if there is an additive effect. A simple example, if there is a person who is distributing milk using the same channel of distribution and reaching out to the same customers, he can also add other products. Now, in the COVID pandemic, our milk distributor also brought us bakery products. He also brought us vegetables. So you can use the same channel and the same customer group for ensuring a new business. There is something called as a paper and a parcel. Along with the Dabbawalas of Mumbai, there is a small boy of 17 years who started delivering small documents across Mumbai. So this is a synergistic effect. You utilize the same channel for creating one more business. This is just an example. So for a startup, first of all, the entrepreneur has to come up with an idea. He has to be creative, think of where he can start a business, and ensure that he has the patience to stick on, because profits don't begin from day one. Then after the idea has been formulated and crystallized, as it needs to be prototyped for a trial, and then go for test marketing, and then go for commercialization. These are the stages, but this is the time which is ripe for the new entrepreneurs to come up. The government has offered a lot of subsidies and many facilities to encourage the entrepreneurs to come up, because entrepreneurship is the backbone of any economy. In Japan, there is one entrepreneur per household, and that is why a country which was totally shattered after the World War II has come up with a lot of respect in the world today. And therefore, it is high time we start developing our own entrepreneurs. I think you have got a very good resource person today. You have got enthusiastic faculty members like Dr. Shrijagadam, Dr. Ranga Madam, and enthusiastic participants. So I'm sure everybody is going to benefit out of such innovative webinars. I wish all of you a great success and enjoy the webinar with a very good resource person. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for introducing the various aspects associated with entrepreneurship. Now, let us go to the introduction of Miss Mayuri Kare. It's a moment of huge pleasure and proud for me to introduce the speaker today, Miss Mayuri Kare, who is the daughter of our own black cotton soil region of Vidarbha. She has completed her schooling from Yavatmal and BTech in Electrical and Power Engineering from Government College of Engineering, Amravati in 2012. She has completed her Master of Design in Strategic Design Management from National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad in 2018. She has started her career as a program analyst in Cognizant Technology Solutions and served there for 2 years. Then she joined the Design Institute for master's study. She worked as design researcher with Digital Impact Square for 1 year. Here she ideated and designed a framework for the digital platform that facilitates communication between the parents of children with autism and the therapist. While working with VIP Industries Limited as a strategic design intern, she has conducted design research to identify of Indian travelers. And since August 2018, she is working with Tata Consultancy Services as user experience designer. Right now, she is working with an interdisciplinary team of engineers and sales experts on a banking application to reduce the complexity of banking process through design thinking and user experience. The design skill set she has acquired includes service design, design research, strategic design, and systems thinking. The different tools and methods she practices are alignment workshops, service blueprints, customer journey maps, ecosystem maps, consumer insights, metaphor elicitation, persona mapping, contextual inquiry, pilots, rapid ethnography, design audit, and surveys. What I find noteworthy to mention here that within a span of 8 years after her graduation, she has gathered knowledge and experience ranging from a software analyst to a strategic designer, and that too working with renowned institutions and corporate houses in India. I am sure her deliberations will give a great learning today. All participants are requested to post their questions in the chat box, which will be taken up after the end of the session. Over to you, Mayuri.
First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Randhava ma'am and Dr. Kshitija ma'am to take up an initiative for for young designers or aspiring entrepreneurs, young engineers and aspiring entrepreneurs, to come across topics like design thinking. And I remember when we were doing engineering back in 2008, 2012, we had no such initiatives being taken at the institute level. We were not exposed, and all we could think of is, pointer, subject clear hona chahiye, nikalna chahiye, class test. That's what we used to think about. So you guys are really fortunate that you have such faculties who want you to think beyond your curriculum. So and I share quite an emotional bond with Randhava ma'am, because she just not only taught us physics, but I also got an opportunity to know her when I was working as a hostel prefect. So and where I was, comfortable enough with her to share my emotional moments with her. So she has a huge impact on my her because it's been 8 years that I've graduated from GCOEA and I have switched over 3 smartphones, but I made sure that I never lose her contact number. So that kind of importance she has in my life. So I guess as far as the introduction is concerned, uh, Dr. Nandava has already explained more than enough about me. So we should jump to the topic. So also I just want to let you know that this is going to be an interactive session. So let's just treat this as a discussion more than a presentation. So I will be asking you certain questions and you have to answer those. I mean, we are not looking for like right answers or wrong answer. I just want a response from you. So that's how it's going to work. So make sure that your audio is on while you speak. Uh, so just let me. I just want to take your permission to share my screen. Okay.
Ma'am, you can share your screen now.
So visible. Is it visible?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So today's topic is design thinking for aspiring entrepreneurs. So before even jump to what design thinking is, I just want you to read this. Why design thinking? Why not engineering thinking? Why not business thinking? And why not commerce thinking? So we all know, or those who don't know, let me tell you that design thinking is a buzzword. So what is a buzzword? Buzzword is just a word that is famous, that has suddenly started trending in the business world. So that's what my understanding is of buzzword. So even if you don't know about this word, in future you will definitely hear about it. So it is better for you to know what this is. So my question is, why design thinking? Why engineering thinking or business thinking or commerce thinking? It is not trending. So let me walk you through the definitions of design thinking. So usually we have one definition for one term, but for design thinking, you will find thousands of definitions. So I am just quoting top 3 definition for you, coming from top 3 credited sources for design thinking. So the first one comes from Tim Brown, who is an industrial designer and CEO of IDEO. So IDEO is a well-known and well-established firm based out of USA, and they define design thinking as a human-centered approach. They say it's an approach. And the second definition comes from an Interaction Design Foundation. Interaction Design Foundation is a well-established design certification body. It is very popular in corporates, especially in Indian corporates. So if you are planning to get a certification, you should definitely look at the courses they offer. Because if you complete one of the courses, it is considered that you know something. And the third one comes from a very popular design school, that is Stanford D School, known as Stanford Design School. They think that, design thinking is a methodology. And if you're a working professional in a corporate and you ask them what is design thinking, they will say it's a tool, it's an innovation tool. So you realize that it's just one term, someone saying that it is an approach, someone saying it's a process, someone saying it's a methodology. So why there is no one opinion onto this? So to know what design thinking is, we need to know what is the history behind of it. So what is the history associated with that term? So design thinking is not a new concept, because in the 60s there were attempts being made to establish a design theory. Design theory where design thinking, like it wasn't, that term wasn't coined then, but the way designer think, how we can use that to solve problems that business industry faces. Because when we are when we are subjected to a familiar problem, we immediately know how to solve it. But when we come across a problem that is very unfamiliar, that involves ambiguity, uncertainty, we don't know how to deal with it. So these are few noted names. Actually, there are many people who have contributed in establishing design thinking, but I am quoting these four names because their contribution is significant in this entire process. So Buckminster Fuller, an architect and designer, he was trying to find a scientific method of design thinking. He wanted to combine science and design together. Second is Horst Rittel and Melvin Weber. So they were the first to coin this term wicked problem, and corporate people, they use this word a lot. This is a wicked problem, we need to solve this. So these are the two people. What they did was they established the importance of human experience in design. Then comes Nigel Cross and Donald Shawn. Both of their researcher and philosopher. They formed, they did the in-depth investigation. Their contribution is the biggest because their findings were highly used by the corporates. Until and unless in 1991, IDEO, IDEO again the studio that I mentioned previously while quoting the definition of design thinking, they should be given the credit. Even they demand the credit for coining the term design thinking. They say that they have been using this term since 1978 in the early years of their establishment. What IDEO did better than Buckminster, Horst, and Nigel is they were able to capitalize on this thing. They were able to pitch this ideology to corporate, and they created a multidisciplinary team where they claim that their ideology, their framework for design thinking, their tool for design thinking, it helps business innovate better. So, but why were all these trying to develop a design thinking theory or design concept, design theory? Why they were trying to pitch this to corporate? Because I told you that there were problems that were not familiar, that were never encountered before, and they were complex and ambiguous. And in order to solve those problems, manager needed creative thinking. So how do you develop creative thinking? So if you are a manager, if you have undergone a formal education in business, if you have undergone formal education in engineering, you heavily deal with numbers and rational thinking. So how do you change that and how do you suddenly become creative? So what these design practitioners did, they created a tool. They said, okay, I am giving you this tool. Now you are a creative thinker. So this is the actual scenario in corporates. So they just complete a certification, they does executive program, and they say they are a design thinker, they are a creative thinker. So that was the whole purpose behind establishing this design thinking, that it became a buzzword. So I'm just breaking the link, and if you are aware of Guess the Gibberish filter on Instagram, especially the millennial audience, can you read the word on the screen for me? Anyone? Anyone? Unmute yourself, please.
Create.
Can you
Create,
say that loud?
create it witty.
So, what is the word? Any guesses?
Creativity.
Yes, correct. So even before you jump on to design thinking, I want you to think about creativity. So if I have to make you understand in a very banal language what is creativity and design thinking and how they are associated, this diagram would help. So creativity is a bigger set and design think is a subset of that creativity. So there are many definitions of creativity, but this is my favorite definition, and it is the apt definition that defines creativity. Creativity is the ability to reinterpret something by breaking it down into its element and recombining these elements in a surprising way to achieve some goal. So this is what creativity is. Creativity is, when you think of creativity, you just think about painting, you think about music, you think about dance. So, that is a form of creativity, but that is not the only form of creativity. You can still not paint, you can still not sketch, you can still not dance, you can still not create a music, but yet you can be creative. Because if you possess this ability, you are creative. And back to the design thinking again. But why now? If the efforts were made to establish design thinking since the 60s, like, as old as my father, why it has become a buzzword now, like 50, 60 years later? So we need to credit this person, this female. Can anyone identify this person for me? The female in the picture? Please unmute yourself.
Indira Nui.
Yes, Indra Nui. And so anyone who doesn't know about her, so Indra Nui joined PepsiCo and she became CEO of PepsiCo in 2006. And you would be really glad to know that this person of Indian origin is responsible for creating that hype according to design thinking. And hype is slightly an underrated word. But the reason it became a buzzword because the moment she joined PepsiCo as a CEO in 2006, she was pretty firm that I want to change the way we innovate in this organization. So she was pretty firm that she wanted to reinvent the innovation culture in PepsiCo. So what she did, she hired this guy. This guy, the picture next to her, his name is Mario Porcini. He is an Italian architect. So what Indira Nooyi did is she hired this guy as a chief design officer, the first ever person to join PepsiCo as a chief design officer. This position never existed in PepsiCo before he was hired. So Mauro Porcini is an architect. Indra Nooyi hired him to reinvent the innovation culture. So you would be surprised why an architect, like how an architect and PepsiCo, like his beverage company, how those two things are related. So that's where the design thinking comes into the picture. Design thinking can also be called as out of box thinking, the way we understand it for non-design people with non-designer background. So she hired him, and he hired a team of 200 designers. So they reinvented everything. They did thorough consumer research. They went to the shops. They looked at how their product looks on shelf, and they reinvented everything. And it reflected on their revenue. When Indira Nooyi was successful in implementing that, that's when it became a buzzword. And immediately after that, IBM also invested around $100 million, which is a huge amount, in creating their own design thinking framework. So we need to credit them for that. And why is it still relevant? By the way, this was in 2012. He was hired in 2012. And one of the successful product they come up with is Pepsi Sprite. I will show you if time permits. So now it's been 8 years, and why design thinking is still the need of an hour. So we have to look into the economic progression. So this is a very basic framework. Okay, I took it from a very complex framework from HBR. So I am just putting it in a very understandable manner. So how we started is we started from a caveman, and then we started using animals like cow and chicken, and then we started farming. So we started as an agrarian economy, and then in the say from 70s 60s onwards we started witnessing industrial revolution, that we used to extract raw material and convert them into goods. So uh, in the early 80s and late 70s, the focus of the economy shifted from product making to service. And from the 2000s, the focus shifted from service to experience. So you need to understand how design thinking and experience are related. So I have created a small diagram for you to understand this, and these inputs come from Christine Comfort. She is a leadership strategist, and she is a neuroscience based leadership coach with an experience of 30 plus years. So what she says, how we experience world. So we experience world through our senses. So how many senses we have? Can anyone name them? Anyone?
Ma'am, we have five senses,
Okay.
like sight, then our ears, then nose, tongue, and our skin.
Yes. So five senses, and that's how we experience world. And what do these senses help us do? These experiences help us build meanings, identity, belief. Be it religious belief, be it political belief. Because we are constantly consuming information through our senses, building experiences through our senses, we form these. And what does identity, belief, and meaning do? They drive our behavior. So the way we behave, the way we portray ourselves is a projection of our belief, is a projection of our the way we identify ourselves, right? Like LGBTQ community, for example, say, you know, uh, gender fluidity. So I was never aware about gender until and because if I said gay, so that kind of projection that I have never seen that when I was doing undergrad. So that's why your belief, they drive your behavior. And whenever there is behavior involved, there is a scope for design thinking. So behavior and design thinking, they're human behavior I'm talking about, they're interlinked. So I just want to give you an overview of what design education in India is. So can any one of you tell me what kind of subjects you had in your last semester? Anyone? Anyone from any discipline? Can you tell me? Nobody. Hello.
Hello? Hello? Mayuri, access to microphone is not given to all the participants
Okay.
because
Okay.
sometimes it creates noise.
Okay.
Let me add something to your question that the syllabus is not significantly changed in our universities in last 8 years. So what you have studied, we are continuing with the same with 20-30% change.
Okay.
Okay,
So
and again it is all technical. Yeah.
yes. So that's what I was. What my point was. to tell you the difference between what you study in engineering and what I study when I underwent design education. So first of all is and fundamentals of visual design, because design is often associated with aesthetics. The first thing that comes to your mind when you think of design is about aesthetics. The way a product looks or the way a dress looks. So that's the way you think. But yeah, it is very much important for a designer to have that sense. Then we have science and liberal arts. So it is the only theoretical subject we call subject as modules. The only theoretical module we had in our 5 semester curriculum. Then we have research methodology that primarily aims at design research, design management, system design. Then we have design projects where we have given a small brief and we have to complete a design oriented project in a month. And these below 4 subjects, they are discipline specific. My discipline, strategic design management. So we had study of human behavior, social behavior, service design, and design audit. So for all our assignments, except for science and liberal arts, for every single module, we had to go outside, we have to observe, we had to interact with people, and we have to come up and then we have to come up with ideas. So I'm just saying that's what I've done for 2.5 years, 5 semesters, except for science and liberal arts, because that was more of a theoretical subject, so it was more about reflective thinking. But for all the other modules and assignments, we have to talk to strangers, and that too I was in Gujarat, and we are not even, like, being from Maharashtra, I was not familiar with the language, but we had an advantage that they could understand Hindi. Like, the population understands Hindi easily. So, and especially for a person, like, I consider myself an introverted person. So that was a really tough, because that wasn't my comfort zone. But you know I was made to go out of my comfort zone, talk to people, understand them, and then come up with ideation and solution. And that's what my point is. The point I'm trying to make here is that our current curriculum is deprived of human interaction. So, like ma'am has mentioned, that no major changes, and all the changes that has been made to the curriculum are technical. So, anyone who is studying engineering, they are deprived of human interaction. And I'm not talking about your social life. I'm talking about your curriculum. So hence we need design thinking, because it talks about human, it keeps the human at center, and then design products and services according to their needs. So earlier the approach was different, especially in industrial area. You design a product, you do user testing, and then you do certain modification, and then you again do user testing. But now the approach has changed. You first know your user, get to know their pain points, get to know their wants, needs, and then design your product. So that's the approach we need to think about, because that is the demand of our economy. So you would be wondering that if I'm an entrepreneur, why do I need to know about design thinking? And why should I even practice it? So this is a definition from Cambridge Dictionary. I went for an Oxford Dictionary, but I did not like the definition. So I am quoting the definition of Cambridge Dictionary. So an entrepreneur is someone who starts their own business, especially when this involves seeing a new opportunity. And that's what entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur, how he is different, how she is different from a businessman, because a businessman can or cannot can do the traditional business, but an entrepreneur, he always does something different. And this is a quote from the faculty from my design school, Krishnesh Mehta. He always used to ask us, how do you see what others don't see, and make them see what you want them to see? So does this quote remind you of anyone? Do you think that there has a person in the history who has made this possible, who has changed the world through their thinking using products, and specifically talking about products, especially electronic products. Can you
Uh,
name such person?
I think it's Steve Jobs.
Yes, you are correct. Oh my God, that's Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs wasn't a designer. Okay, he doesn't have any formal education in design. But I think anyone who has changed the world, anyone through design, is Steve Jobs and Apple. So they are the first company to hit $1 trillion market evaluation, publicly traded company. The first company. And design has always been at their core, even when design thinking was not a buzzword. Since then, they have been thinking about design and user experience. So, I think some slide is missing. But okay. So, so how do you apply design thinking? You have certain tools, and these are the tools. You use this and you become a design thinker. But that's not how it works. So I will code the images for you. This is a double diamond network, the double diamond framework, design research framework, designed by Design Council. So Design Council, British Design Council, is a standard design body based out of UK, and their word is considered as like standard. And there is this design thinking process by Stanford D School. And this double diamond method has evolved. So the small image is the older version, and this is the latest version. They revised it in 2019. So these are the tools. So right now I'm giving you the authentic definition of design thinking. So anyone asks you what design thinking is, you just have to tell them it's the way designers think to solve a problem. It's a thought process. It's not a tool. It's not a methodology. It's not an approach. It's just a thought process. Slides. The sequence is changed. Sorry. Uh, so now back to economy. So when I was explaining the economic progression, I told you about how people have been spending money on experiences. You know, so what kind of experiences? Vacation. Dinner outside, concerts, celebration. So in 2014, two researchers, Thomas Gilovich and Amit Kumar from Cornell University, they established a conclusion. They conducted a study and they established this conclusion that experiential purchases, they bring long lasting happiness than any tangible good, any like jewelry, gadget, with anything. So that's why the people's spending is more on experiences than on purchasing of goods. And also, I'm quoting this statement from World Economic Forum that since 1987, this is very particular to USA, that consumer has been spending more on live experiences than on purchase of goods. So Steve Jobs sequence is better, but again I'm quoting that Apple is the first company to hit $1 trillion market capitalization, and it has been the design centric company since the beginning. So again, my question to you: if it were obvious, everyone else would be doing it. So this is what, as an entrepreneur, you should not do. You should not do obvious. If you are doing obvious, then probably you're a business person. You're not an entrepreneur. So how does design thinking help you? So design thinking is definitely going to help you think not the obvious, to find meaning and to materialize meaning. I have already told you that we experience world through senses, and we create meanings, and meanings derive behavior. So if you want to make the customer, be it your product, be it your service, you want to drive the change, you want to change their behavior through use of your products and services, then you have to create meaning. So what is a meaning? Okay, so I'm just quoting some well-known catchphrases for you. So what do you search when you search on internet? Do you say search this on internet, or do you say Google it? You just say, Google it, Google kar, Google kar le. So the Google has made the act of searching anything on internet so easy that people, it has replaced the word search on internet. It has become a word. Google it. It has become an action. And Google never marketed itself that don't say search it, say Google it. They never said that. It became without even advertising. So that is a strong kind of offering they had. So this is again दिन है सुहाना आज पहली तारीख है. So this is from the famous Cadbury ad. I guess it's 4-year old. So what kind of meaning the Cadbury is trying to establish here is, if it's celebration, Cadbury is must. So Cadbury is a must have when it's time to celebrate. So first Tariq is when you get your salary. So this was for older time, we get salary on the last day of our month. So, but whatever that is, if it is a salary day, that means we should celebrate. And if celebration is involved, Cadbury is a must. And the next tagline is fog chal raha hai. So, like this needs to die seriously, because it's been going on a really long time. So even it was trending in memes and all. So what fog is trying to say that it's not a deodorant, it's a trend. So that kind of meaning they have established. And it's a very innate desire for millennials. By the way, millennials are people who are born after 85, 86. But primarily, after 95, they are the true millennials, because the behavior pattern that exhibits a very different set of, like wants and needs. It's very different for people who are born after 95. So fog chal raha hai. So if you're not using fog, you're not trend. That's the kind of message they want to give. And nobody wants to be out of trends. They want to be trendy. And this is very generic. Have you ever told or said this to your friend that you're not my friend, you're my lifeline? So basically, you're trying to say your friend is your emergency service. So there are friends, or there are people in your life you can always count on, right? So these are the meanings, celebration, friend, emergency service, funny. But I'm just trying to tell you, and you have to create these kinds of meaning through your products and services. So, so if you want to understand, like, how do people experience world and what kind of meaning they create, you need to understand humans. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, your product or service could be a B2B or B2C. I hope you're aware of these transactions. These are business transactions. Business to business, business to service. That means your product that you make, it could be sold out to another business, or it could be sold out to directly to customer. But in both cases, you are going to interact with people. So you need to understand behavior. So that's what, again, a famous quote from my faculty, Krishnesh Mehta, I'm quoting. Why not study what humans do and how they do it, why they behave the way they do, what drives them, and what they do, what they love doing and being. So we need to understand human. And I think our current engineering curriculum does not have a single subject or single module that is dedicated towards understanding humans. And why especially students from or aspiring entrepreneurs who hail from an engineering background, they should know design thinking, because if an engineer understands design, then he can do anything. Majority of the entrepreneurs are engineers. And why engineers and why not architects and why not even designers themselves? Why are not they better entrepreneurs? And why do only engineers say, like majority of the entrepreneurs are engineers? Because engineers, they just do it. They are good at implementation, they are good at execution. That's how we have been trained to thinking. Your uh, what your question, the kind of questions you are asked in examination, you are given a problem, you have to find a solution. The solution could be you have to apply a formula, then you find a number, something like that. But that's how we have been trained to do. Given a problem, immediately find a solution. And even you build a prototype very rapidly, likewise mentioned by Dr. Kshitija ma'am, that hostel attendance system, and you guys even participated in an international competition. So you create prototype just like that, and that ability even designers don't possess it. Despite the fact that they can sketch, they can create a 3D prototype, and when it comes to creating a tangible prototype, even designers lack. But you don't. You have that, and because you are a good executioner, if you acquire design thinking, then you are just unbeatable. So hence, it is very important for you to understand what design thinking is and acquire it. So how do I acquire? So this is again the double diamond framework, design process framework established by Design Council, British Design Council. So it has 4 phases: discover, define, develop, and deliver. So these are 4 phases. And I just want you to take a look at discover section of it. What it says is immersion, questionnaire, interviews, self documentation, meetings, user experience observation. So, this is the thing I want you to involve yourself into right now. Like, even if you're not an aspiring entrepreneur, even if you have plans like, I want to do a job, you need this. And why you need this? Because this thing not only will help you in establishing your something of your own, it will also help you in your professional career, because design thinking helps you communicate your ideas better so than any other discipline. So because, and it also provides you with the clarity so that you can justify your ideas and solution in a better manner, because you always have a proof. And whenever you have a solid grasp on human understanding, nobody can question you, because there are very few people who study this and who understand this, and that's why industry need this. So I just want to tell you that if there are, for example, say from India alone, there are 5 lakh engineers who are graduating in a year. I'm not sure about the number, but yeah, it is certainly in lakhs. There are only 7,000 designers that graduate every year. So imagine, for a population of billion, there are only 7,000 designers. And if we couple like other, and this includes not only design, this also includes architects, designers. So designers and architects combined, 7,000. So this is a really bad number. So imagine how few people are taught about human behavior. So even if it is not taught to you at institute, this should not be your expectation. You should start learning it on your own. So, so forget the steps. Now jump to how do I apply it. So design thinking is acquired by using design process. And the very first step of design process that is not mentioned in anywhere, not even in Nelson Norman group, like a very established design group. But I'm not quoting here because their work is towards user experience, not design thinking. So you observe your surrounding, you identify a problem. That's how it begins. So so I'm just giving you an example of how what is the most common problem that we are facing. Can someone read this for me, or can someone translate this for me? Is everyone on mute? Okay. So this is a meme. What it says, it says that if anyone that is facing more problems during the time of pandemics, it's your ear, because uh, it's giving support to your spectacles. It's supporting a mask, and it's also supporting a headphone. So it's like it's not an ear; it has become a hanger of sort. So I'm just asking you, have you ever given it a thought? So whoever has designed this meme, he is an excellent observant. He has identified a
No,
problem. So most of
Mayuri,
the huh?
I want to interpret this meme as it is the ear has become mummy, that all the things are hanging on it. So that picture is representing a mummy in the house. So
Yeah,
all things that
actually, this.
come hang on it. That is, a mummy must have designed it.
So
Okay, please
so
continue.
so that's what it's really funny, right? I mean, but it's an excellent piece of observation. So whoever has created this meme, he or she is an excellent observer, and they have identified a problem. But you know what meme does is they just identify a problem and they make a mockery out of it, but they never like try to solve this question. So my question to you is, can you redesign this mask using design process? So, even after this session is over, I want you to take up this exercise and just observe when you see people around you who wear masks for a longer time, and ask them what kind of difficulties they are facing, and try if you can, come up with a solution to solve those problems. So for the same problem that uh, wearing mask has become taking toll on your ears. It's very uncomfortable. It's very painful. So what you should do is you first you have seen the problem, you identify. Then you need to identify your target group. So target user group is people who are going to use this redesigned mask of yours. So who those user could be? So you have to decide. Okay. So if I have to decide, I would see people who use this mask extensively. Like for me who is working from home, I use mask only when I go out for a walk. But for a person who is working in essential services, they have to wear it for at least an 8 hours. So, who are these essential workers? Doctors, nurses, people who are working in the sanitization sector, and wearing mask is not optional these days. It's not optional. It's mandatory. So, but it's also uncomfortable. So, how do we solve this problem? So, I've identified my target group as essential workers. So select subjects, then you have to interact with those people. Interaction, what I mean by interaction is you need to go and observe them first, like in their environment. So this can be done using shadowing. Shadowing is a technique where you follow your subject and do what they do, try to do what they do, or just observe them at each and every step. And there is another is contextual inquiry, where you go observe them and ask them questions, something like that. Okay. So interview them, observe them, then create a persona. So persona is basically you try to design a category a certain category or certain type of consumer. So you can have a multiple persona for a single product or single service. So we don't know if you are designing, sorry, we can even come up with service, but yeah, for now it's product. So you have to create a persona. Then you have to create an empathy map and a journey map. So I am showcasing what those maps are. So I have visited this nurse. So like I've identified that okay, I am going to study doctor, nurse, and I went there. I observed them. You know, right now this is not possible. Okay, I'm just giving you a hypothetical situation that imagine that you've gone there, you have seen them working, then you create this persona. So I have created a persona for a nurse. She's a 26-year-old woman. Her name is Anne, and this is her quote. A quote is something that you know that you think that person is saying from the heart. You know, again, it's very subjective, and there is not a formula for it. This is the exact quote. So you need to develop that understanding. Okay, this is the appropriate quote for this person. Then what she does is you mentioned she cooks, she works, she socializes, walks, volunteer. Then what are her goal and aspirations? What are her likes and dislikes? So there are different templates for creating a persona. This is just one template. And then again, this is an empathy map again from Nielsen and Norman Group, a well-established designer duo. Again, their word is taken as standard in the design industry. So this is your user. For example, Anne is our user. We keep her at the center, and then we start noting down what she says. Say Anne says that uh, I don't like putting on this mask. That's what she said. So what she thinks that uh, we wish that we do not have to wear this mask, or we wish that there was a better way where we could protect ourselves and not feel uncomfortable. And what she feels, she's feeling uncomfortable from the beginning. And what she does is, so you have to note down how she behaves, because when we are observing, we need to observe them. So what I've noted is that Anne frequently touches her ear to correct the position of mark because it keeps slipping. So what she does is you have to note down what she was doing, why she was not saying anything, or why she was not talking, and why she was working. So this should go in this section. And after, so these maps, this persona mapping, empathy mapping. Okay, there is one missing slide. So, yeah. So, this is the slide. And third slide is customer journey or user journey. Okay, in this case, we will call it a user journey. So you have to note down what she has done from the time she has woken up to the time she goes to bed. So that is also known as a day in a life of user, or a day in a life of customer. So you have to note down that journey. That's where shadowing comes into the picture. So you have to note down each and everything. So again, there are various templates for customer journey. So just this is not relevant to the mask thing, but this is just an example I downloaded from internet. So this is Tina. Tina is attending an online coaching class. Like she enrolled herself for a certification, and that class, that organizer of those classes, they have noted down their students too. So feeling, thinking, doing, touch points. And if you see, there are various tabs: inspiration, research, booking a tryout, around actual class, leading, decision making. So these are actions basically. Okay, so the bottom tab summarizes the action in one word, and these are various levels. Again, action, like doing, thinking, and feeling at those points, at those steps of her journey. So this is, so it took us 1.5 months to actually learn journey mapping. So you don't have to understand this right now itself. You can later know more about it, because if I try to make you this understand right now, it's not going to work. So I just want you to know that there are customer journeys. Sequence is messed up. So after like these maps, this persona mapping, empathy mapping, journey mapping, this comes under a part of analysis. So data analysis, and this is a part of design research. So after data analysis, the most important thing of the entire process is insight generation. So what is an insight? So an insight is an aha moment, the eureka moment. So anyone is familiar with the Archimedes and his story of eureka? Okay, so all are on mute. So you know Archimedes, when he realized his principle, Archimedes principle, while he was taking a bath, and when he realized that, oh, when he had this insight in his mind, what he did was he just started shouting eureka, eureka, and he started running on the streets, because he realized that he had that insight. So in a very banal term, if I have to define insight, so an insight is an underlying reason for something. It could be anything. It could be what is the underlying reason of occurrence of this phenomenon, or what is the underlying reason behind this behavior of our user. So that is what insight is. And I think this is where an entrepreneur from a non-designer background can stop. So the moment you hit insight, you know, the picture is clear. And then after the insight generation comes the problem statement and opportunity mapping. So problem statements is not a mandatory step in design process. It's optional, because most of the time you don't need to form a problem statement when you can clearly see the opportunity. When you feel that that opportunity it's not striking, then you create a problem statement, and then you arrive at a opportunity mapping. So opportunity mapping is where you try to find, okay, I see opportunity here, here, here. So, and then you start to ideate. For example, I see, giving the context of redesigning a mask, I see an opportunity where people can wear it for their stylish outfits, to match the mask with their stylish outfit, and also it is comfortable. So I see this opportunity. So, and then you sketch. See, not all entrepreneurs have the sketching skills. Even I myself don't have the sketching skills. So if I have like this insight and opportunity, probably after this step, I will collaborate with another designer who has those skills where they can create a prototype. Because my education in design does not enable me to create a prototype. Okay, I am being very clear. So I am as good as you. So I am as good as people with engineering background, because I am not a good sketcher. Okay, so you sketch and you create prototype. Then when you put a design thinking thought into it, your product looks something like that. So the person in the photograph is my batchmate from NID, Ashmika, and her sister, who is a well-established designer in Bhopal. She came up with this mask. So if you look at the design of the mask, it does not rely on your ears for support. In fact, it has a button which helps you, you know, uh, help that mask to catch a grip across your face without making your ear uncomfortable. And how she is marketing this mask? She is not marketing this mask as like the comfortable mask. She is not marketing it like that. She is marketing stylish mask, mask that you can couple with your colored outfit. That's how she is marketing, because there may not be a huge demand for it, but there is some demand for it. I mean, I especially personally, who is very conscious about my outfit, I am definitely going to buy it. And also, the good thing what she's doing is, you see the fabric, it's a handicraft, it's a block print. So this this also gives an opportunity to popularize the handicraft. So how useful this is, that is a different thing, because design process is an iterative process. So you create, you prototype, you test, like you get a user feedback, user gives you a feedback, okay, my ears are comfortable, but I don't see that the grip is fine. So you again go back, again sketch, ideate, prototype, again test. So this is done until and unless a satisfactory result is achieved, both in terms of quality of product and user experience. So another biggest example of design thinking is this hand sanitizer dispenser. So these were not in the picture. I mean, there are like that contactless hand sanitizer dispenser, but they rely on sensors, batteries, and electricity, which is not feasible, because that again add on to the dependency on something, maybe a resource, maybe a manual support. But these are genius. So I believe that the design thinking award should go to this simple product. You just put your feet, and you know you can find a sanitizing solution on your hand. So before even concluding this, I just want you to read this statement very carefully, that how well you can think what customers will think, and make them think the way you want them to think. So an entrepreneur is one who strives to drive the behavior of a customer. So you have to be ahead of what customer is thinking. So how do you know what customer is thinking? You have not even been in contact with humans. Suddenly you say that I want to become an entrepreneur, but I don't know how. So be it I'm telling you, you want to sell chai, you want to sell, I don't know, software products. It could be anything, but it is very important for an entrepreneur to know and understand human behavior, even though you're selling tangible or intangible products. And especially in case of electronics, it is a must, because you need to see what Apple has achieved and what others could not achieve. So despite the fact that their products are very expensive, people still want to buy it because they're very user friendly. And I can vouch for that, because I had a Windows laptop, and then I bought an iMac for my professional work only, not that I wanted it, and I can feel the difference. So that's what I'm saying. So as an entrepreneur, you start interacting with humans. If you're not comfortable, just observe them. Start doing that, and that is definitely going to help you. So in an era of experiential economy, it is a must to know humans, and design thinking is a thought process that will enable you. And even it's not, I'm not even I don't even want you to call it design thinking. You should strive for creative thinking, because design thinking is bounded by certain constraints. So how designers work? They work with constraints. So they have a client, they have a brief. They say we have this much budget. We want you to design this, and that's how it starts. But for an entrepreneur, you have no bounds. You can just start from the scratch. Hence, you should aspire for creative thinking instead of design thinking. And when I started as a as an engineer in a design school, I had a really hard time because what an engineer has a very rational and logical thinking. That's how we have been trained through our curriculum. Problem है, solution चाहिए immediately. That's how our question papers are. And you know that's the kind of thinking I have acquired. But when I went into design, the first thing is that we need to ask why. When someone says, you know, this is a problem, solve this. So we don't just jump on to, you know, design the solution. We ask why. Why do you want us to solve this problem? Why this particular problem? And for what reason? So that's where you have to start. And you know, it takes a lot of time. So design thinking doesn't happen overnight. Uh, there may be a 2 week certification, or I don't know, 1 month program. I don't know. Few people even they complete a 1 week workshop on design thinking and they say I am a design thinker. But to be honest, that is not true. It takes a lot of practice. And I am going back to my first slide where I have highlighted I and in on purpose, because design thinking or creative thinking starts with an inward journey. You need to know more about yourself. Hence, you should start with introspection. First, you need to understand yourself better, and then you should jump on to, you know, understanding people. That's how it begins. So, for entrepreneur, it is very important that you should introspect and aim for creative thinking instead of design thinking. So that's what I want to do. And I really want to thank Randhava ma'am, because the day we were discussing that, you know, there is a certain design thinking workshop that they were approaching me for conducting this session on design thinking. I was really glad because industry or institutes, they don't consider inviting designers to give an opinion on design thinking. Even Randhava ma'am shared a webinar detail with me, which was being conducted in a Vishwakarma College of Gujarat. That is a government engineering college of Ahmedabad. Uh, they have uh, they have a guest speaker, Dhruvin Patel, uh, and he was giving an expert lecture on design thinking. And you know, the very first thought I had in my mind that he's not a designer. That was the very first thought I had. And then I again went on LinkedIn, checked his profile, and I was right. He was a he did engineering and then he did his masters from Indian School Business, ISB Hyderabad. So 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 design thinking, if you approach any designer and ask them what their design thinking is, they will not be happy about that term. Or most of them, they are not even aware of that term. We never used the term design thinking in my 3 year curriculum at NID. Never. I didn't even knew about it until and unless I hit the corporate. And designers despise this buzzword design thinking because it is heavily misused, misinterpreted by the non-designer community. And hence, you will also come across articles like, you know, top 10 failures in the corporate industry, and you might see design thinking there. So you need to understand that it's not design thinking that is a failure. It's it's the implementation of it that has gone wrong. So design has always been a differentiation factor. So being an entrepreneur, you want that, you need that. So so in design thinking is a small subset. I want you to look at a larger subset, that is creative thinking. So that's what I wanted to say, and I would like to conclude this session by saying that फिर मिलेंगे चलते चलते, because I don't want to say thank you, tata, and bye bye. No, because I want you to take this opportunity to connect with someone from the design field. Now you have me, I will share my contact details. Anyone who feel that, you know, you have a slight interest in this field, or in this, you want to understand this, what this is, you can anytime contact me. I can provide you with enough reading material, and I can also connect you with my contacts from the industry that are relevant or suitable to your ideas, your area of interest. I can connect you with them as well. So I'm just saying that start thinking on it, start thinking towards it, start connecting with people from the field of design to understand this process. And I will not advise you to go on any online course, because there is no standard material on design thinking. There are different sources and different opinions. So the opinion of Nielsen Norman Group will vary from British Design Council. The opinion of IDEO will vary from that of Nielsen and Norman Group. So there is no one standard thought behind design thinking. So I will just ask you, take this opportunity and interact. And I will also request the panelists, respected principal sir, Dr. Randava ma'am and Dr. Kshitija ma'am, that now that you have come across this term, I will request you, if you could at least arrange like guest lectures on this topic, or like a 1 week module for a 1 week time for this, for just to inculcate that habit of observing and understanding humans around us. So for example, say I work in IT industry. So Randhava ma'am has already given you a brief introduction of what I do. So what I am currently working as a user experience design in TCS is I am redesigning their web application. And who are the users of those applications? Those users are the CEO of company, uh, the chief technology officer, chief design officer, chief medical officer, any chief officer. So they have like 16 such chief terms. They are the user of those application. And I and there are like 10 features in this application, but only one feature is being highly used. And users are not using 9 other features. So as a designer, I have to think why they are not using these features. And how can I make those users use those application features through design thinking, through my design. So that's what I'm currently working on. And imagine people who are studying information technology and computer science, they are being introduced to subjects like user experience design in the curriculum itself. So the imagine the kind of knowledge they will have when they will join industry, because there is nothing in this world that has no interface. Be it your electronics, your like tangible products, and your intangible products like website, software products. Everything has an interface, but the information that is being displayed on that the information that is being displayed on that interface, how do we categorize that information? Why is this button put on left? Why is this title put on right? We need to understand this thing. And if you understand things, probably you're a threat for a designer, because a designer can't code. There could be exception, but yeah, I believe that I myself have tried my hands at coding, and I have huge respect for programmers, computer programmers, because I know that it's not easy. And design like user experience is as easy as cutting a cake. So, but if you are a coder who knows user experience design, company will line up to hire you, because my organization is asking me, you should know HTML and you should know CSS. And I was like, no, I have left that behind for a really like for a good, and I don't want to try my hands on that. So so industry has demands like that. So I am, and it's good also. So the very basic quality that we want to inculcate through design thinking is the ability to empathize with people around us. And in design context, it is to empathize with user, put yourself in their shoe, and that's how we do it. And empathize, I have seen this in corporate, that empathy, but they don't know how to empathize. my I have design thinking team in TCS, and I don't want to criticize, but the kind of document they have procured, like they have created in name of empathy, it lacks empathy. It's just a set of observation, and it doesn't talk about their psyche, their latent needs. It doesn't talk about that, and it's not their fault because they are people from senior management who are forced to think creatively. But that does not happen overnight. When I say empathize, you go outside and you start empathizing with people. That's not how it happens. It's a gradual process. You go interact, and eventually you know how you empathize with people. And when you genuinely start empathizing with your user, you know you will realize the moment you start getting affected by it, you realize that you are now empathizing in a true sense. So you have to immerse yourself. You may not go to that extent, but there are some technical details of this ideology that you need to know. And if you know, so imagine if I did not know about National Institute of Design until 2014. Imagine. So I myself have created that I myself have grown up thinking that I am a creative person because I could draw well, and but I did not know about that there is an institute that they call national that teaches design, that is design like creative centric. So I realized when I one of the colleague told me that there is such institute, they teach animation, and then I was like, oh my god, I would love that. Then I went and checked the kind of subjects they were offering, and then I cracked it in the very first attempt. So I just consider myself lucky. But then, yeah, I was confident that I am creative and I will get through it. And I got through it. And when I went there, I realized that it's a very different world. We never had written examination. Never. We have juries. So a jury is where you present what you have done in an entire semester, and that is different for different discipline. So for my discipline, we were given a brief, and the brief would be, okay, you have to explain your entire semester, your understanding of each and every module through dance. And I'm not a dancing person. I can't dance. I don't. That is not the ability. But I did dance. So that was the kind of, that's how our exams used to happen. So, and in one of the semester presentation, I used my liking for sketching to portray my teachings. So I can't show that to you right now. I don't have photographs, but I'm telling you, people wrote poems to as an answer to the jury's brief. They wrote poems, they told stories, they enacted, they created movies. So that's how our exams. That's how the nature of exams at design school. So just for a person who comes from engineering and who is an introvert, this was like an opportunity to come out of my comfort zone and to gain that ability to think creatively, to empathize with people. So that's what I'm trying to understand. So this is my request to you, all the panelists, respected panelists, that start organizing guest lectures where people from design industry would visit the institute and highlight the importance of what the student can achieve. So that's it from my side. I think I've exhausted the time. That's how I would like to conclude my session. Uh, I would now give the screen sharing control to respective Randava ma'am. Uh, yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you, Mayuri. Yeah. Thank you, Mayuri. Thank you very much for your very nice session. I request Kadam ma'am to have some questions
Yes, there are questions from audience. Anurag, can you unmute Akhila?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you unmute Akhila?
Just
There is a question from them.
yes, ma'am. You can continue.
Akhila, please ask your question. Okay, or on her behalf, I will ask the question. She has a question: how to design attractive lesson plan for higher school students? Mayuri, please.
I just want to make sure that my video is working. Akhila, right? The question is from Akhila. Akhila, you have given me a brief, okay, and it's a huge brief and quite open ended. So I that's what I'm telling you. My thinking will ask you like why this particular problem you want to address, and you also have to narrow it down. So the first thing I will do when you give me this brief, I will narrow it down. I will jot one problem statement, one particular problem that I want to address with design thinking. So if you want to take this forward, you can note down my email ID and we can discuss this further because that's what I'm trying to tell you. Our engineering, the way we have been taught in our engineering curriculum is to immediately jump to the solution. But that's not what design thinking permits you to do. You have to you have to narrow it down to one problem. You have to create a project brief and then you go about it. You conduct research, you meet user, and then you come up with opportunities. So for now, it's a very open-ended. That's my suggestion to you.
Next question is from one of the participants. Please suggest some good books and websites for
Yes.
learning design thinking.
Yes, so sorry, I was waiting that someone would ask me. I have three good books, and if because I have like ebook version of them, so I can share that with you also because I told you that you should focus on creative thinking instead of design thinking. The very first book that I will suggest is The Art of Creative Thinking. The second book that I will suggest, which is on Insight, is The Eureka Factor. And the third book, like my favorite book, is Creativity Incorporation by the founder of Pixar, Edwin Catmull. So I have ebooks for this. So I can share those with Anurag. So Anurag can share it with you because you will have to purchase those books. So don't do that. I have those. I will share it with you.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayuri. One question is there. Can education gap becomes barrier for pursuing MDs from IIT? What factor need to be considered if person with corporate experience wish to pursue his MDs?
So, so I will tell you that I never appeared for I. So I never appeared for SEED. SEED is the entrance examination that allows you to get into to qualify for the admission for MDes in IIT. So I never appeared for that examination. So I am not the right person to guide you for the examination. Yes, but I can tell you that uh, education gap doesn't matter. Be it IIT, be it NID, it doesn't matter. So your thought process matters. So your age also doesn't matter. For NID, they have a certain age restriction that after 30 years for general category and 33 years for reserved category, that is the age limit. For IIT, I'm not aware, but yes, your education gap or your career experience, I don't think they make a difference.
Okay, thank you. There is a question about feedback link. So I want to tell participants that feedback will be open after the session will end. So you will receive the feedback link for the webinar. These are the all questions available on the chat box. If anybody still want to ask question, please write it in chat box.
Yeah, I can see chat. So you can type, I can answer.
Perhaps all the questions are over now. I am handing
No
over to
question are
Jasmeet.
Yeah.
Over to Jasmeer.
Thank you, Mayuri. Thank you very much for your wonderful talk. It's been a great learning experience, as I had promised. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So, on behalf of the Government College of Engineering, I thank Miss Mayuri for her wonderful talk. It has been a great learning experience to all of us. Rather, we sat for extended time sticking to your talk, and we enjoyed it and understood also. I think same would have been the scenario for all participants. We are also thankful to Dr. Mrs. Medha Kumthekar ma'am for her valuable time and guidance. We at GCON are very keen about having guidance from her, and we do not miss any opportunity for that. Thanks are also due to all participants for their faith in our event. And I would be failing in my duties if I do not acknowledge the tireless work that has been put in by our 3 student coordinators, Gunjan Kayarkar, Anurag Maldure, and Ashish Patil. So, with the permission of Chairperson Kumthekar sir, I end the session here. Thank you very much, all the participants. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Anurag, I think you end the session.
Okay.
Webex.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, sure.